Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg, Florida. My name is Rev Janet Johnson and I am the minister here. Thank you, Aaron Cassette, for the beautiful music. Aaron Cassette is back with us. I am so excited to work with you. It is our first time. Yes, the thunderous applause of the assembled multitude. Except there's no multitude because what we're doing is we are just having the worship team here in the worship in the sanctuary because a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks. Merry Christmas to all of you. Happy New Year. I have gone back to New England and come back down with my wife Lucinda and our dog Lufa. We just got here last night. And the COVID Act Now website decided to go from medium all the way to extreme. Now, this is not unique to us, but since our board has a policy of around these things, around COVID, we are moving back to fully virtual worship services for the next period of time. But please, 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 Unitarian Universalists, we tend not to be a praying group, but let us pray that it goes down, back down through extreme to very high to high and back to medium. We even had low. We had low. Remember? That was only a couple weeks ago. Let's bring this back down because I like seeing you all in here. As lovely as that little red dot is on the Mevo, your faces are more lovely. I'm not doing much today for this worship service. It's being led by the wonderful Susan Burnore, who will be your worship leader. Of course, our music director, John Arterton, and his indispensable musician and tech guru husband, James Mack, along with Aaron Cassette, who I mentioned. Kelly Olson, our office administrator, is going to show me how she does her job once I sit down in a minute. And I am thrilled that you are able to join us from home. If you're checking out our church for the first time, please know this is a community where all are welcomed and given a place both in this church and in our hearts. We're glad you're here. A couple of announcements. After the service today, you are invited to attend the Facilities Master Plan Revisited via Zoom. What's the Zoom link, you ask? Go get a pencil, I say. I will tell it to you in a second. Kelly has also, I believe, put it in the text chat. The link is also on our website and in our newsletter. How do you get the newsletter? You write to us and then we can put you on the newsletter list. The meeting is going to include an update on the work done over the past year, plus information about prospective projects. The video will be followed by questions and answers and an online survey. Did you get your pencil? You didn't get up, did you? Okay, there you go. You got your pencil. Here's the meeting ID. It's 944-5570-3768. That's 944-5570-3768. We'll repeat it at the end of the service. Kelly will type it and the instructions into the chat. So that's right after this worship service. After next week's worship service that I'll be leading, we're going to have the town hall meeting that we previously announced. It will also be on Zoom. That's it from me. I would like to turn this over to our worship leader for the day, Susan Burnore. Blessings all of you.
Thank you so much, Reverend Ben, and welcome back. I know it was a long drive, and we're so happy that you're back, and also that you brought Lucinda and Lufa with you. So great. To get us started on the right note this morning, I'd like to share a few quotes from a remarkable philosopher who died this week at age 99. Of course, I'm talking about the unsinkable Betty White. Many of her best quotes are not repeatable on a live stream, but here are a few others. Facebook just sounds like a drag. In my day, seeing pictures of other people's vacations was considered punishment. My mother always used to say, the older you get, the better you get, unless you're a banana. And then, you can always tell a lot about someone by the way they put their hands on an animal. And you don't luck into integrity, you work at it. Rest in peace, Betty White, and thanks for the memories. I wanted to add a thank you to Jamie and Leah, who are here staffing the doors. Even though we don't have a regular crowd to greet, we wanted to be sure someone was there to answer questions for people who come in. So again, whoever you are, whenever you have come, you are welcome and safe in this space, even though it may only be cyberspace for now. Our service begins with music.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm James Mack, and I'm going to be assisting with the worship service this morning. First of all, we'll begin by lighting the chalice. We light this chalice at the beginning of each service, and we take a moment to focus on what it symbolizes as we repeat these words of community and commitment each Sunday. Please say them along with me as John lights the flame, and don't forget the hand gestures. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its all. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you, John. And to light up our hearts along with the chalice, great news. Amanda Gorman, the young poet who lit up President Biden's inauguration, has released a new poem written to welcome 2022. I'm delighted to share it with you this morning. It's called New Day's Lyric. May this be the day we come together. Mourning, we come to mend. Withered, we come to weather. Torn, we come to tend. Battered, we come to better. Tethered by this year of yearning, we are learning that though we weren't ready for this, we have been ready by it. we steadily vow that no matter how we are weighed down, we must always pave a way forward. This hope is our door, our portal. Even if we never get back to normal, someday we can venture beyond it, to leave the known and take the first steps. So let us not return to what was normal, but reach toward what is next. What was cursed, we will cure. What was plagued, we will prove pure. Where we tend to argue, we will try to agree. Those fortunes we forswore, now the future we foresee. Where we weren't aware, we're now awake. Those moments we missed are now these moments we make. The moments we meet and our hearts, once all together beaten, now all together beat. Come, look up with kindness yet, for even solace can be sourced from sorrow. We remember not just for the sake of yesterday, but to take on tomorrow. We heed this old spirit in a new day's lyric. In our hearts, we hear it. For all lang syne, my dear, for all lang syne. Be bold, saying time this year. Be bold, saying time. For when you honor yesterday, tomorrow ye will find. Know what we fought need not be forgot, nor for none. It defines us, binds us as one. Come over, join this day just begun, for wherever we come together, we will forever overcome.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes and see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it upon us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Thank you, John and Aaron. Our religious education and communications coordinator, Janet Johnson, is on vacation today, and we miss her spirit and her talent, especially when we turn to our time for all ages. So I'm turning to a reliable source for a children's poem, Shel Silverstein. My daughter-in-law has a framed copy of this poem in her home, given to her by her father. It means a lot to her. It might touch all of us. It's called Listen to the Mustn'ts. Listen to the mustn'ts, child. Listen to the don'ts. Listen to the shouldn'ts, the impossibles, the won'ts. Listen to the never haves. Then listen close to me. Anything can happen, child. Anything can be. And then this reading from Gail Mazur, especially for the children, but also their parents in our congregation. It's about what we wish for all children, those in our own families, those in our congregation, those in the world. It's about how the life of an apple tree is a good wish for a child. I have a brand new great-nephew, Jackson Levi Tuggle, born December 21st. So I especially say this for him and his parents. Young apple tree. What you want for it, you'd want for a child, that they take hold, that their roots find home in stony winter soil, that they take seasons in stride, seasons that shape and reshape them, that like a dancer's, their limbs grow pliant, graceful, and surprising, that they know in their branchings to seek balance, that they know when to flower, when to wait for the returns, that they turn to a giving sun, that they know fruit as it ripens, that what is lost to them will be replaced, that early summer afternoons, a full blossoming tree, they cast lacy shadows, that change not frighten them, rather that change need their embrace, that remembering their small history, they find their place in an orchard, that they be their own orchard, that they outlast you, that they prepare for the hungry world, the fallen world, the loony world, something shapely, useful, new, delicious.
This reading is from the journal of Thomas Merton, one of the most influential American Catholic writers of the 20th century. He described a particular mystical experience, an epiphany, he had while standing on a city street corner. It was a turning point in his life and his ministry. He wrote about it in his journal the next day. It has come to be known as the Epiphany at 4th and Walnut, and it's commemorated with a plaque at that spot in Louisville, Kentucky. He wrote this: "In Louisville, at the corner of 4th and Walnut, I was suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all these people, that they were mine and I theirs, that we could not be alien to one another even though we were total strangers. It was as if I suddenly saw the secret beauty of their hearts, the core of their reality. If only they could all see themselves as they really are. If only we could see each other that way all the time. There would be no more war, no hatred, no cruelty, no greed. But it cannot be explained. There is no way of telling people that they are all walking around shining like the sun."
For the sharing of joys and concerns today, we encourage you to use the chat feature that's available on your screen. Please type in whatever personal joy or concern you might want to share, and remember that it will be visible online to anyone who might view this service now or later. Also, we have no collection plates here in the sanctuary this morning, but our offering is a very important means of supporting our community and acting upon our commitment to one another. The link to contribute to the important work of UU St. Pete is in the description box just below me on your screen. You can also donate through the Vanco Faith Engagement mobile app or on our website under the Giving tab at uustpete.org, or by sending a check to the church office. Thank you very much.
moment for our favorite meditative hymn, Spirit of Life. Take a few deep breaths to get relaxed and still. Perhaps think about this line from Amanda Gorman's poem. Hope is our door, our portal. So, let's talk about the idea of Epiphany and why there's such a thing as Epiphany Sunday. And eventually, I hope, why the concept might be meaningful to us. Today is the 8th day of Christmas, so someone somewhere is getting 8 maids milking from their true love. The day of Epiphany, in some Christian traditions, especially the Greek Orthodox, is the 12th day after Jesus' birth, with 12 drummers drumming, I assume. That day represents the second of 4 Epiphany events, for first being when Jesus was born, and his deity was immediately recognized by the shepherds representing the Jews at that event. Then the arrival of the Magi, the 3 wise men of song, on the 12th night, when non-Jews, the Magi, recognized his deity. The third was his baptism when the Holy Spirit was seen descending on the adult Jesus. And finally, the very public wedding at Cana, where Jesus performed his first miracle, turning water into wine, which is when the Unitarian Universalists finally got on board. Now, the miraculous events in the Christian tradition may or may not resonate with us as individual UUs. Though we have members of many faith traditions, from born-again Christians to recovering Methodists like myself, we don't generally focus on Christian events beyond Christmas and Easter. I'm not suggesting that we should, but I do think that looking at some epiphanies might give us something to think about here at the beginning of yet another COVID challenge season. Jane shared a famous epiphany experienced by Thomas Merton, a Catholic monk and famous religious writer. Suddenly, in the middle of the day, on a busy street corner in Louisville, Kentucky, he was overcome by that realization that he loved and was bonded to everyone he could see. They were shining like the sun. The mystical experience changed his life completely. I recently heard a lecture about Merton's photography. I learned that he felt that the interconnectedness extended even to non-living things, that there is beauty and wisdom and meaning everywhere. Merton's writing went on to influence everything from Unitarian Universalism's 7th principle to George Herbert Walker Bush's 1,000 Points of Light. Epiphanies are usually defined as moments when someone experiences a new level of consciousness or understanding and enlightenment. It can be a moment that changes someone's beliefs about how the world works and what their role is in the world. I think sometimes that the COVID experience is trying to be one long, painful epiphany. We're constantly being challenged to look at the world in a new way, to live in a new way, to conduct church in a new way. On top of that, we've seen people have such different reactions to this crazy time. It's disconcerting. It feels somewhat like the center cannot hold. In addition to religious epiphany stories, there are many in literature. A beautiful one is in The Student by Anton Chekhov, a short story. In this, a young man is telling two peasant women a Bible story about when Jesus is betrayed by his apostle Peter before Jesus' trial and execution. The young student notices that one of the women he's speaking to is crying and that the other is very upset. Chekhov writes, "The student thought that if the woman had shed tears, it was evident that what he had just been telling them about, which had happened 19 centuries before, had a relation to the present, to the women, to the village, to himself, to all people." The old woman wept, not because the student could tell the story touchingly, but because the Apostle Peter was somehow near to her, near to the old woman, because her whole being was interested in what was happening to this other person, Peter's soul, 19 centuries before. And joy suddenly stirred in the student's soul, and he even stopped for a minute to take breath. The past, he thought, is linked with the present by an unbroken chain of events, flowing one out of another. And it seemed to him that he had just seen both ends of that chain, that when he touched one end, the other end quivered. He thought that truth and beauty, which had guided human life in the Garden of Eden, had continued without interruption up to this day, and that the inexpressible sweet expectation of happiness, of unknown mysterious happiness, took possession of him little by little, and life seemed to him enchanting, marvelous, and full of meaning. I love that image of a young man suddenly realizing that he is a part of an unbroken chain of human meaning, not just among all the people he sees, as Merton said, but all that have ever existed. And that is beautiful. Well, I'm not Chekhov or Merton, but I want to share a couple of personal epiphanies that I've experienced that might help you think of some in your own life. The first was about self-knowledge. I've shared before that my childhood was a mixed bag, like most are, I expect. My escape was through school, where I felt safe and successful. And I grew up believing that the craziness of an alcoholic home had not affected me much. I recognized the issues, my mother's loneliness, the fact that there was never any money, some domestic violence, but always I felt that I had escaped untouched. In my 30s, after 4 career changes and a couple of brief failed marriages, I was sharing a house with a young woman I knew from work. She also had an alcoholic parent, and she recommended a book to me, Janet Johnsson's Adult Children of Alcoholics, which was then, and still is, a standard in its field. One night I picked up the book. I looked just at the back cover, and I was thunderstruck before I even finished reading just this list on the back cover. Of the 13 common characteristics of adult children of alcoholics, I recognized 8 in myself immediately. Things like impulsiveness, judging myself without mercy, being super responsible and also super irresponsible. I was suddenly sobbing, deeply shaken. I saw that, I was a product of my environment, that my claims of being unaffected by those years were wrong. Recognizing my denial was devastating. Yet, in the midst of my feelings of breakdown, there was also a feeling of building up, of relief. Relief at seeing some explanation for my own chaotic choices, and relief at seeing that I was not alone. It felt like that song, Killing Me Softly with His Song. Someone else knew how I felt. Someone else knew how I got that way. This learning came out of the blue. I wasn't prepared for my reaction to that simple list on the back of a book. But even though it was overwhelming, it was the beginning of a healthier, more honest understanding of myself. My second epiphany was more about culture and ethics. In the 1990s, I had the job of opening and managing the IBM office for Central Asia in Almaty, Kazakhstan, reporting to Moscow. My first employee was a wonderful young woman, ostensibly hired to teach me to speak Russian. After one lesson, Larissa said to me timidly but bravely, "Mrs. Susan, you do not need a Russian teacher. You need a Russian interpreter." She knew that there was no way I was going to learn Russian in time to do business in Moscow or Kazakhstan. She became my interpreter, my friend, an all-around savior. With her help, I eventually hired about 20 English-speaking bilingual people for the office. And as you can imagine, it was quite different from managing a group in the States. One minor but constant irritant was the daily disappearance of office supplies. Pen, paper, markers gone. It drove me crazy. Finally, I lost my temper. I called everyone together and harangued them about taking supplies. I told them that it was stealing, plain and simple, and I wasn't going to put up with it anymore. I stormed off to my office, leaving them all with bowed heads, eyes averted. I knew they felt ashamed. After a few minutes, wise Larissa crept into my office. I told her I was sorry I'd lost my temper, and that I could tell I had made everyone feel ashamed. What she said shocks me even today, and brought on an epiphany I'll never forget. She said, "Mrs. Susan, they are not ashamed of themselves. They are embarrassed for you. It is shameful to us that you are so angry about people taking supplies for their children's schools. Is stealing a worse sin than not sharing?" Still kills me. Is stealing worse than not sharing? My face still burns with embarrassment and shame when I remember that moment. I was speechless. I could almost physically feel my brain re-examining a lifetime of decisions and beliefs. I immediately decided that Larissa's logic was indisputable, and at the same time totally contrary to my American way of looking at things. And from that moment on, for me, the line between mine and not mine has been forever blurred. It may be true that possession is 9/10 of the law in this country, but it doesn't constrain my thinking the way it used to. So, what do these epiphanies have in common? I see three things. First, connectedness. Merton's realized that he loved and was connected to all those people on Walnut Street, while Chekhov's student saw his connection to the endless chain of human history, and that it extends even into the future. Second, and so important right now, hope. Seeing the larger picture and one's place in that is not only enlightening, it is reassuring. Solzhenitsyn wisely said, "A drop in the ocean has no fear of a hurricane." Knowing we are part of something much larger than ourselves gives us hope and peace. And finally, humanity. All these stories, and I'll bet many that you could share, are about being more completely, blessedly, wretchedly, joyfully human. With all our fears and mistakes and blind spots, with all the dangers and frustrations of this time, I come back with hope and certainty to the 5 words that I use to determine my own philosophy, my own religion, my own politics. We're all in this together. Whether from blinding epiphanies or everyday interactions, I'm more sure of that truth than ever. And I'm so grateful that each of you is in this pandemic, this hurricane, this glorious loony world. I'm glad you're in it with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
That was amazing.
That was wonderful. How do we follow that?
Well, we'd like to sing a song of hope. My mother, when love is gone, my mother, when love is gone, in our darkest hour hope lingers on.
My father, when peace is gone, my father, when peace is gone, in our darkest hour hope lingers on. I will not hate, and I will not fear, in our darkest hour hope lingers here. My sister, when equality's gone, my sister, when equality's gone, in our darkest hour hope lingers on. My brother, with tolerance gone, my brother, with tolerance gone, in our darkest hour hope lingers on. I will not hate, and I will not fear, in our darkest hour hope lingers here. My love, when honor is gone, my love, when honor is gone, in our darkest hour hope lingers on. My country, when justice is gone, my country, when justice is gone, in our darkest hour hope lingers on. I will not hate, and I will not fear, in our darkest hour hope lingers here. No, I will not hate, and I will not fear, in our darkest hour hope lingers here. In our darkest hour hope lingers here.
Thank you. That was so beautiful. Thank you all for being with us online today. And thank you, John, James, Aaron, Reverend Ben, Kelly, Jamie, and Leah, And we have one visitor with us too. Thank you for being with us. We hope you'll join us in just a few minutes for the Zoom meeting on facilities topics. Here's the Zoom meeting ID again. I'm going to say it, but Kelly's also putting it in the chat. 944-5570-3768. Just go to zoom.com, click on Join Meeting, type in that ID, then you'll need to click on Allow and maybe Launch Meeting, and you'll be there. Kelly's putting all of that in the chat. Our service ends now as John extinguishes our chalice, and then Aaron plays some special music for us. Please join us online again next week. We'll let you know how things change after that. For now, say with me, if you remember, the words we always use to end our worship time together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.